that this system doesn't seem to be packing much of a punch, because what you've been experiencing outside doesn't seem to be worthy of all the hurrah that we're creating about the system. But the truth is, it is still some distance away from the coast, expected to move closer, and then
yeah man, a lot of power right here. Used to be land where we walk, guys, and you see that hurricane don't start as yet, you know. See that? Yeah. Look at that, guys. You see? Even at the rain. Alright, so welcome again, viewers and subscribers. Pleasant day. Hope you're all doing wonderful. I know it was a very rough and a very long night for some of us, even myself and viewers. This hurricane hasn't even started as yet, and I know a lot of persons still taking this hurricane lightly, because maybe, as well Mr. Evan Thompson is saying, they don't see the impact that they are talking about as yet. But viewers, remember that the hurricane was moving very slowly. And judging from the effects of this hurricane already, and the eye of the hurricane hasn't passed over Jamaica as yet, viewers, trust me, and seeing the impact that it has already have on the country, I'm just imagining when the eye of this hurricane start to pass over the country. I'm just really praying that it doesn't do as much damage as persons are expecting it to be, because trust me, it's a category 5 hurricane, and as we know, there's nothing much we can do about that. But I'm praying, and I know a lot of persons' prayers are going up as well for the country. I hope everyone just try their best to keep safe as possible. And if you have to go to a shelter, please to do so, because this hurricane hasn't even started yet. And we see where even recently I seen the news that it said that 7 persons already have lost their life. And remember, it's just really, we're getting a lot of heavy wind and we get a lot of rain so far. And the real part of the hurricane hasn't started to walk over Jamaica yet, because it is moving at walking pace. So right now, as I say, just trying the best to keep safe, as I'm doing as well. So I'm just going to play this video and give you the latest update right now on Hurricane Melissa. And this latest update is courtesy from the JIS, Jamaica Information Service. So I'm just going to play this video, viewers, and you can know what's really going on with this hurricane currently.
Hurricane Melissa, and we'll be hearing a lot about Hurricane Melissa today, because there has been no significant change in terms of the magnitude of this system, the strength of its winds. Our satellite imagery will just give you a good picture of what is really happening out there over the waters and even over the land, because Hurricane Melissa, a category 5 hurricane, continues to barrel its way. Well, not barrel its way, because it's still moving pretty slowly, but moving toward the southwestern coastline of Jamaica. We are starting to experience quite a few of the impacts of this system, because we have been experiencing rainfall over much of the island, especially in the west and the south of the country. We've been having some periods of heavy rainfall, mostly moderate rainfall. There have also been gusts of wind and some sustained strong winds over sections of the island. The gusts, of course, going well into tropical force as we went through the night last night, and as we have gone through this morning so far. We recognize that the system has not yet made landfall. The center is still some distance away from the coastline, just about 70 to 75 kilometers from the southwestern coastline, and it is still moving toward the northeast. So it is moving closer and closer to the coastline of Jamaica. I mentioned that it has been moving slowly, but it has been moving a little bit faster than it was previously, because it's now moving at 11 kilometers per hour. That's just about 7 miles per hour. And it is expected to make that turn to be more in a direction, moving in a direction toward the northeast, which is a slight shift toward the east, more so than it is going at this time. So it will continue to move toward the island, making its entry on the southwestern corner. We do expect, let me move this slide forward a little bit so you can see and get an idea of where we're expecting it to move. First, let me just point to those circles that you're seeing on the image. Where the center is located, the inner, I refer to it as the inner core, which is that orange area that's surrounding it. And then you have the outer band, of the greens that extend across the country, which is what most of us have been experiencing thus far. But the inner core that we speak of is that orange area that we expect to be making some impact on the island, and that's where the stronger winds are concentrated. Also, the heavier rainfall is in that general area. We did say that the system is a Category 5 hurricane at this time, and when it makes landfall, it is expected to still be a Category 5 hurricane. That means it will cause catastrophic damage, life-threatening damage. There is very little that can stop a Category 5 hurricane. And regardless of the where you are in the parish of Westmoreland or St. Elizabeth, if you are under the impact of those Category 5 hurricane force winds, you will be having significant difficulty even with infrastructure that's in the area. So ensure that you are in the strongest area that you can. The recommendation from the Hurricane Center is that you would have as many walls between yourself and the outside as you can, because it is important to reinforce yourself and to ensure that you are not left vulnerable to this system. We do expect that it will gradually be reduced in strength as it moves over the island. It will fall to a Category 4 maybe, and then Category 3 as it exits the country possibly. But in the meantime, when it makes landfall, which is expected, as you can see in this image here, to be somewhere near Parati in western St. Elizabeth, that's somewhat to the east of Black River. So it will most likely make landfall in the western part of St. Elizabeth rather than in the eastern part of Westmoreland. And then it will continue moving toward the northeast. That is the direction of movement that is expected. It will continue over the northern part of St. Elizabeth and then move into southern Trelawney. And the exit is expected to be somewhere in Trelawney rather than in St. Anne. It would be most likely in the eastern end of Trelawney rather than St. Anne, where it makes its exit from the island of Jamaica. Here we see the area, this area of orange shows the outer bands of this system, where we are expecting to be experiencing impacts, heavy rainfall right across the length and breadth of Jamaica, also strong winds across the island. The amounts of rainfall that we see here, again, we indicated that we would have between 20 and 30 inches, or 500 to 750 millimeters of rainfall affecting sections of the island. The area that is expected to be impacted mostly has been narrowed a little bit on the map. So you'll see that Jamaica's central parishes are most at risk and extending into the west of the island as well. And then some slightly lower figures are expected for the rest of the island, but still significant rainfall. 12 to 16 inches, 300 to 400 millimeters is nothing to scoff at. It's still a lot of rainfall, still expected to produce significant flooding. You might be saying that this system doesn't seem to be packing much of a punch because what you've been experiencing outside doesn't seem to be worthy of all the hurrah that we're creating about the system. But the truth is it is still some distance away from the coast, expected to move closer and then move across the island, and that means that the impacts are going to be significantly greater than you've already been experiencing. Flooding is expected. Landslides are expected. Storm surge is expected. And of course, those strong winds we will not be able to escape, especially if you're in the path of this system and in the path close to the eye of the system. The rest of the island, I mentioned the Category 5 hurricane force winds that will be experienced over parts of St. Elizabeth and Westmoreland going into Trelawney. But we are expecting tropical storm force winds over the rest of the country. And so we all should be experiencing or looking out for the experience of tropical storm winds right across the island. Here we see on our picture some of the areas that are expected to be mostly inundated from storm surge that is also expected to come onshore. And this would be in those bays and inlets. In the area of Black River, we expect storm surge, although the center is now expected to be somewhat of Black River, so this might have to be updated slightly, but Black River will also experience storm surge. Storm surge could get as high as 13 feet. That's high. 13 feet is a couple of stories high. And so you need to be very much prepared for that kind of activity if you're in any of those bays or inlets along the coast of St. Elizabeth in particular, and even going into Clarendon. So those traditional areas of storm surge impact, like Portland Cottage, Rocky Point, those are areas that, because of the geography, we are expecting still to experience some amount of storm surge in those areas, although probably not as significant as we would have in St. Elizabeth along the coast. So anywhere, even along the coast of Manchester, parts of Alligator Pond and, Treasure Beach area should also be looking out for that kind of activity, and going eastward as far as parts of St. Catherine. And that is basically the presentation at this time. I'm sure you'll have some questions that will bring out some more information later. So be looking out for that kind of activity and going eastward as far as parts of St. Catherine.
So we've reached the end of this one. You can also follow me on the IG, and please subscribe for more updates on what's going on. Bless up.
On the views.